Tavon Austin will become an unrestricted free agent in just a few weeks, and right now he seems to be flying under the radar. The receiver and return specialist isn't getting much attention, with guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and Beasley also becoming free agents, but Austin could be an important signing for the Dallas Cowboys in 2019. No, Tavon's first year in Dallas wasn't much to write home about. He missed 9 games due to injury and only got 14 touches on offense. Even his ability as a return man wasn't really seen until the playoffs. But even in those limited flashes we saw Austin's athletic potential. He can be dangerous with the ball in his hands, and this Cowboys offense needs more players who can break things open with their own talent. Even though he turns 29 next month, Tavon still has some value. I think that Dallas would be smart to get him resigned in the next few weeks before the start of 2019 free agency. Here are the 3 biggest reasons why. Dallas Cowboys WR Tavon Austin. 1. Austin should be fairly cheap given his age and last year's health issues. Tavon shouldn't be able to command a big contract in free agency. Rather go through all of that uncertainty, he might be willing to take a modest deal to stay in Dallas and enjoy a peaceful off-season. As a former 8th overall pick, Austin has already made some good money since entering the league in 2013. One source has his career earnings at over $38 million. He might be in a position to value job security and stability, rather than risk it to chase a bigger payday that might never come. The Cowboys might be able to keep Tavon at about $3 million per year and throw in some incentives to sweeten the deal. That's a solid offer given where he's at in his career and what he would at least offer as the primary return man. As we'll see in our next 2 sections, Austin has the potential to do much more than we saw last season. If Dallas uses its leverage to re-sign him at a bargain before free agency, it could wind up being a significant investment for the next few years. Dallas Cowboys WR Beasley. 2. Insurance at WR, RB, and special teams. As mentioned before, Beasley is one of the biggest names among the Cowboys' expiring contracts in 2019. If he winds up leaving, then Dallas will be in need of a new slot receiver, and Tavon Austin has the skills to play that role. Last year when he arrived, Austin was reportedly getting looks at running back as well. With Rod Smith also a free agent, Dallas could at least feel good about having Tavon for some potential plays out of the backfield. It doesn't mean they won't need to find another true backup RB, but Austin could round out the depth chart with his versatility and save a roster spot for another position. Similarly, having Tavon also covers you with your return roles on special teams. He showed in January some of the dynamic things he can do there. If he can stay healthy in 2019, Austin might give the Cowboys one of the better return specialists in the league. It's great to go into an off-season with as many bases covered as possible. What's more, having Tavon signed would give the Cowboys even more leverage in any potential contract talks with Beasley. Dallas Cowboys OC Kellen Moore. 3. Will more creativity mean more production? The change at offensive coordinator from Scott Linehan to Kellen Moore is hopefully going to bring a new creative spark to the Cowboys. A player with Tavon Austin's versatile skills is just the kind of guy that Moore might find new and better ways to utilize. Sure, we saw Linehan attempt the typical reverse play or screen. But there is a lot more that an innovator can do with a guy like Austin, and Scott was hardly that. At just 30 years old, Kellen Moore was given this job based on a belief in his genius. It didn't seem like the last OC knew what to do with even his best players, let alone gadgets like Tavon. Hopefully Moore can do better. If so, Tavon Austin might be far more valuable going forward than he ever could have been last year. If the Cowboys can re-sign him now based on his current value, that could prove to be a major bargain for 2019. 2019 offseason. Tavon Austin wide receiver. The Dallas Cowboys would seem fairly settled at offensive tackle for 2019, with last year's starters both still under contract and set to return. But the need for a reliable backup has become increasingly important, and Dallas may also want to use this offseason to start planning for the future. Tyron Smith and La'el Collins return to their starting roles, but not without some concern. Smith has now missed 3 games in each of the last 3 seasons, though a few of those have been for veteran rest at the end of the year. We all remember the Chaz Green debacle in 2017 Atlanta. That led to the Cowboys paying veteran Cameron Fleming $2.5 million last season to come and play as the swing tackle, and Smith's ongoing issues with health will make his backup an off-season priority once more. Meanwhile, Collins has started every game since taking over as the right tackle in 2017. He's been solid but not a star, which is a disappointment after his draft year hype and some of the talent he flashed at left guard during his first 2 seasons. 2019 is the contract year for La'el. He will turn just 27 by the 2020 season, making him an attractive potential free agent. But his play has arguably not lived up to his current salary, which has him as one of the higher-paid right tackles in the NFL already. Anyone who has the privilege of playing next to Zach Martin has no excuses. Dallas Cowboys LT Tyron Smith. Even with his many trips to the Pro Bowl, Tyron Smith isn't immune to contract talk. The 2020 offseason presents Dallas with about an $8 million cap relief opportunity by releasing Smith. It would only leave them with about $5 million in dead money, which is less than they've had when releasing stars like DeMarcus Ware, Tony Romo, and Dez Bryant in recent years. While still just 28 years old, Tyron has been getting increasingly bothered by nagging injuries. Bad backs and necks tend to become lifelong issues, and we've already mentioned the games he's missed over the last few seasons. When healthy, Smith is still about as good as they come at left tackle. But could his health issues spark an early decline in skill? And if it happens as soon as 2019, could Dallas start looking at that cap space more intently? With Cameron Fleming now a free agent and these 2020 question marks looming on both starters, there's a good argument for the Cowboys to spend their 2nd or 3rd round pick at defensive tackle. Ideally, a Day 2 rookie would be able to take over as the swing tackle this year. Dallas could still sign a veteran insurance policy to compete in camp in the preseason, or even carry both players next season. But more important aspect would be taking a player now to groom for 2020, when you might need to make a big decision on either Collins or Smith's future. Or, at the very least, have a solid swing tackle in place for the duration of his 4-year rookie contract. Dallas Cowboys OT Cameron Fleming. That said, free agency starts a month and a half before the NFL draft. The Cowboys can't really afford to wait for the draft to find a swing tackle, or else they may wind up with nothing. The simplest move would be to just re-sign Cam Fleming. He is an adequate player with plenty of experience, and could likely be retained for about the same salary as last year. But given Fleming's age 26, and experience, which includes starting in playoff games and even a Super Bowl for the Patriots, he could attract teams looking for even more than just a backup. Thankfully, there are still a number of veterans out there if Dallas has to find a replacement. One guy to consider, especially for just a 1-year deal, is Ty Nsika from the Redskins. He's a native of Arlington, Texas, and has started 14 games over the last 3 seasons, backing up the oft-injured Trent Williams. On the negative side, Nsika turns 34 next October. As a whole, this 2019 offseason doesn't present any immediate dangers. The Cowboys will need to figure out their swing tackle situation by either re-signing Fleming, adding a different veteran, or drafting a replacement. But given the contract situations of Tyron Smith and La'el Collins in 2020, Dallas could make a move in the next few months to help prepare for a potential big change a year from now. One of the brightest spots on the Dallas Cowboys' projected 2019 roster is linebacker. The young pair of Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch have already emerged as one of the league's best duos. But that doesn't mean that the Cowboys have no work to do at the position this offseason. Having Jalen and Leighton does take a lot of pressure off. Most teams utilize their nickel scheme more than any other these days, which generally utilizes just two linebackers, in the increasingly pass-focused NFL. And thankfully, both Smith and Vander Esch have shown great skills in pass defense. But there's still a semi-starting role to get figured out in the base 4-3 scheme. Damian Wilson has held the strong side or SAM position for the last few years and has an expiring contract. What's more, Dallas has a big decision to make regarding the contract of Sean Lee, which is ripe for terminating with $7 million in salary cap savings possible. It's highly unlikely that the Cowboys would keep both Lee and Wilson. If they decide to re-sign Damian, Lee will be cut to help fund that move and others. If Sean is kept on, Wilson will almost surely be looking for a starting role somewhere else in free agency. Even if the Cowboys do make Lee a cap casualty between now and March 13, they may still allow Wilson to test free agency and then try to re-sign him later at a discount. He's unlikely to attract the same attention that Anthony Hitchens got last year. Dallas Cowboys LB Joe Thomas, photo by Ronald Martinez, Getty Images. Another factor in all of this is Joe Thomas, a free agent addition last year who provided good depth and could potentially start in 2019. He is scheduled to count $2.2 million against the cap, which is fine for a primary reserve but a bargain for an occasional starter. A core of Smith, Thomas, and Vander Esch gives the Cowboys a good foundation to build from. Smythe can play the SAM in the base scheme and Thomas can be the primary backup to Jalen and Leighton in the nickel. However, going that route would deplete the depth chart. Chris Covington, a 6th-round pick last year, would be the only noteworthy player under contract. Dallas would need to find at least two more guys to fill out the group for 2019. They could look at re-signing backup Justin March-Lillard, who would at least bring some familiarity and veteran experience. But that might still leave them looking for more of a primary reserve, which would be especially vital if Thomas is promoted to a starting role. The projected LB free agent pool for 2019 should make it a buyer's market. Dallas may be able to re-sign Damian Wilson or even add an upgrade, like perhaps the Vikings' Anthony Barr, at a relative bargain. There should be ample options for depth as well. Barring an extremely favorable value opportunity, don't expect the Cowboys to spend a significant draft pick at linebacker. The 4th round is the earliest I could see one going based on other needs, and even then it would need to be someone they really like. Good drafting is why Dallas has flexibility and leverage this offseason. The picks they invested in Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch appear to have made LB a strength of the team for the next several years. There is still business to attend to, but the Cowboys won't have to be too concerned with linebacker in 2019 thanks to their young stars. There has been a debate going on among Cowboys Nation for more than a year now about the prospects of bringing in Seattle Seahawks safety Earl Thomas. Now with free agency approaching, there are several other names that the Dallas Cowboys could consider when looking to upgrade the safety position. Landon Collins, Tyrann Mathieu, and Trey Boston are several of the many quality and really good safeties that are hitting the free agent market in a few weeks. It's a group with varied skill sets and abilities, which makes the debate even more interesting. The Dallas Cowboys, however, will be able to take a look at all of them when free agency opens March 13th because of one player, Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods, the Cowboys' 5th-round draft pick from the 2017 NFL Draft, just finished his first full season as a starter for the Cowboys and played really well. In 2 years he's shown the ability to cover from the slot, play deep, play in the box, be a force over the middle, and make plays on the football. He's one of the more versatile players on the defense with his ability to play all over the field. That versatility allows the Dallas Cowboys front office an advantage when approaching the names mentioned above. The Dallas Cowboys don't have to be locked into one particular type of safety. When people talk about Landon Collins, they label him a box safety. Earl Thomas is a traditional free safety. Trey Boston is a similar player to Earl Thomas, and Tyrann Mathieu is like Collins. The Cowboys can go into free agency with the freedom to explore their options and do their due diligence when it comes to these players. That's a distinct difference from this offseason to last. Last offseason, the feeling was that the Dallas Cowboys had to go get Earl Thomas. The safety position was so weak that the Cowboys were going to be playing at a disadvantage in the high-flying, pass-heavy NFL. Xavier Woods proved in his first full season that he can be a productive play-making starter in the NFL and should only continue to improve. According to Pro Football Focus, Xavier Woods was 6th in the NFL in passer rating against among safeties with at least 352 coverage snaps. His 62.8 passer rating allowed in his coverage was tied with Eric Weddle, better than Derwin James, Rashad Jones, Adrian Amos, and Malik Hooker. Of the safeties drafted in the 2017 draft class, only Eddie Jackson from the Chicago Bears had a better passer rating against than Xavier Woods. The Dallas Cowboys got a really good player in Xavier Woods, and as they get ready to potentially make a run at a big-name safety, they can feel confident that whoever they end up signing will be a good fit with Woods. He can play in the box or cover receivers and tight ends. You can run more to deep safety looks because he has the range to play it. This year, as opposed to last, they have more certainty at the safety position because of Xavier Woods and the strides he took in 2018. There's no reason to believe that he can't continue to take a step forward for the Dallas Cowboys. His ability to play all over the field allows the Cowboys to be smart and patient in their pursuit of a safety upgrade this offseason.